Anjem Choudary of Islam for UK and by Maajid Nawaz from the counter-extremism think tank, the Quilliam Foundation. I see in your statement today that this decision, in your judgment, is a victory for Islam and for Muslims. How does that work?
Well, absolutely, because if you believe in something, then it should be good for all times and places. The government advocate democracy and freedom. Supposedly, their own soldiers are dying for freedom and democracy in Afghanistan, and yet when we expose their foreign policy, as we did with the mere suggestion of having a procession in Wooden Basset, suddenly you find that freedom dissipates and you have dictatorship.
And how's the campaign to move Britain over to Sharia law coming along?
Well, this is in the hands of God. We do our best to propagate Islam. Well, of course it is. I think many people will see that democracy and freedom is no good for the British, no good for Afghanistan, and in fact, we need an alternative. Unlike man-made law, the Sharia is not something which gives you a right today to take it away tomorrow. It's good in all times and places.
What is gained?
Sir, to make this an issue of freedom and democracy is absurd. Anjem, you haven't had a hair on your body touched by this government or this country. You haven't spent a day in prison. You haven't suffered one bit for your views. You're allowed to sit here right now because of freedom and democracy. In your so-called caliphate, you'd have me killed, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have me? Am I an apostate that deserves death?
Well, I mean, obviously, Maajid Nawaz is part of an apostate organisation called the Quilliam Foundation. He's paid by Alan Johnson and Gordon Brown to say what he's saying.
Anjem, how many thousands of pounds a year do you get on benefits?
This man gets £2 million with his and his organisation in order to fight against Islam or Muslims.
Look, he's asked you two questions. Firstly, under your caliphate, he would be executable, would he?
He would be judged by an Islamic judge, and then after that...
And his second question, his second question, did you hear that?
Repeat the second.
How many thousands of pounds are you receiving from the British government every year on dole money? On dole money.
I receive nothing at all from the British government.
Are you on the dole?
At the end of the day, when you lose the argument, it's very easy to...
So now I'll ask you again. Have you had a hair on your body touched by freedom and democracy?
For both of you, obviously, and the 5-minute clip that you played here, I'll tell you something. All of you are in one camp, the camp of non-Islam, against the camp of the Muslims.
So what's the verdict what the Muslims out there will see, what the Muslims out there will see, is that you have already played a clip 5 minutes long in order to demonize the Muslims. There's a bunch of lies told by Mr. Watson in that clip. It will take me 5 minutes at least to refute all of those. Do we deserve death?
And on top of all of that, you have a Chomcha like yourself here propagating what the government wants to do.
Can you answer any one of my questions?
At the end of the day, we are people. You can gang up on us as much as you want. Ultimately, Islam will prevail.
I want to ask, just a second, hang on a second. What is gained by banning an organisation? You may think he's talking nonsense, but what's gained by stopping him talking nonsense?
On this very show,
a lot of money by Maajid Nawaz.
Hang on.
On this very show, I oppose the government in banning Hizb ut-Tahrir. There's a clear difference, even though that was government policy at the time. And the difference is that there are over 20 members or affiliates of his group that are serving in prison on terrorism offences. I met members of his group in a Lashkar-e-Taiba training camp in Pakistan. These people describe the 9/11 attackers as the Magnificent 19.
We've got the list.
Well, no,
these people believe
to say that the blood by the government. That's the only reason he's saying.
Anjem, allow me to finish one thing.
Hang on, my friend.
Listen,
you are not
I've known you for over 15 years. I've known you for over 15 years.
No, I've never met you before.
Yes, you have. You are my solicitor in the East Ham murder case, Anjem. You're my solicitor.
What are you talking about, Maajid?
Why are you not my solicitor in the East Ham murder case?
You cannot deny that there are, as he says, members of your organisation convicted of crimes serving sentences in prison.
Why were they convicted? You have people in prison. Wait a second. No.
So you just denied it, now you admit it.
No, wait a second, Jeremy. Let's have a look at the facts. You have people holding placards at a demonstration against the cartoons. There's a man who held a placard about Denmark. He got 6 years for holding a placard. And yet you have freedom and yet you have pedophiles and murderers.
Have you spent a day in prison?
Getting suspended sentences. That is the Britain that we live in today. It is an apartheid system. The Muslims are treated as sacrifices. You need to wake up. You need to wake up to the reality. I'm not paying attention to you. You need to wake up to the reality of the situation.
If I'm judged an apostate by a Sharia court judge, will I be executed in your caliphate? Answer that question.
You know very well that you have left the deen of al-Islam because you side with the enemies of Islam against the Muslims.
As a judge...
The one who stands with them is one of them.
So will I be executed as an apostate in your caliphate?
You know what the
You've asked him about apostasy. This question is getting to Michael Howard levels. You've asked it dozens of times. You're not going to answer
submit to yourself.
You're not going to answer the question, right?
Well, it's a ridiculous question. He knows the answer.
Wow. Was this an absolute fiery debate or what? This guy, this Islamist cleric in the United Kingdom, won't answer the damn question. You know why he won't answer the damn question? Because he knows if he answers the question, it's going to look really, really bad for him. That's why he basically looked and pointed to Maajid Nawaz and basically said, what? You know the answer to that question. Of course. If there's Islamic Sharia law, the answer to the question would be yes, he could be sentenced to be put to death for apostasy, for leaving the faith. But this guy's too much of a GD coward to say that. He says everything else. Talks about the British policy, talks about the war in Islam, talks about all kinds of stuff. And have there been people that have been put in jail for, I don't know what's going on over there in England. He said somebody was just holding up a placard, just a sign that said, protesting a sign, got 6 years. I don't think so. This guy lies so often, he lies. Everything coming out of his mouth is a freaking lie. He's an Islamist, jihadist. He's a terrorist. This guy was put away in jail. This is from the archives of the BBC, folks. This is like from 9-10 years ago. But he was put away in jail, sentenced for 5.5 years one time back in 2007, I think, or whatever. He only served like 2.5 years of that thing. Then in July of this year, he got sentenced again for material support and aid to terrorist organizations. But here he is, just like Maajid Nawaz was saying, not a hair on his body. At this point in time, nobody had touched him. And the British government allowed this Islamist, allowed this terrorist, allowed this jihadist to speak his venomous vitriol every single freaking day. Anyways, we're going to get back to the rest of this fiery interview, but you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir. This is what we have on tap for you today, folks. This Islamist terrorist telling you his views of what he wants. He wants Sharia law to be applicable in the United Kingdom because democracy and freedom doesn't work, has to be replaced by Sharia law. That's what we do over here. I give you my political prescription from my political perspective on what happens when all these things collide. Islamists, traditionalists, Britain, America, the world, socialists, communists, everything, folks. It collides. Let's get back to more of the interview right now.
The public don't know the answer to the question, do they?
I think they will draw their own conclusions.
Let's deal with the real issues.
If you are so confident of your position, will you be appealing against this decision?
We don't appeal because we don't believe it's allowed to appeal to man-made law. Secondly, we have had the most support we've ever had.
Well, in that case, why are you
following the
bothered about
ban
it?
this morning by Alan Johnson, we have been inundated with calls and emails from Muslims and non-Muslims to say that they support us, and quite frankly, they're disgusted.
Nobody supports you, you Islamists. Nobody supports you, you terrorists. Nobody supports you, you jihadists.
Under the realms of their own law, suddenly that becomes dictatorship. At the end of the day, the point is that this is a great victory for Islam and Muslims. And
well, you would be. I mean, you wouldn't be around in this. You wouldn't be around this caliphate. But listen, don't you think tactically, whatever you think about nutty views,
nutty views which you two are presenting today,
profoundly held convictions, whatever you want to call them.
Let me ask you something, Jeremy.
Hang on, I'm asking him a question. You hang on.
I know, but you're using pejorative
is it not counterproductive to wait until something potentially provocative happens, which it doesn't happen in the end because they called it off, like this march in Wootton Bassett, and then to impose a ban on their right to say things?
And that's a mistake the government has made. These people should have been banned when they set up Islam for UK, and it's wrong of the government to suddenly decide to ban them. They should have been banned from the beginning. They are different to Hizb ut-Tahrir, though they're an offshoot of Hizb ut-Tahrir. They do promote and glorify violence. Of course you are. He was the leader of Hizb ut-Tahrir in this country.
Accuse us with all these lies.
Well, you made that point already.
Hizb ut-Tahrir one day in your life? Have you never been a member of Hizb ut-Tahrir? Have you never been with Hizb ut-Tahrir in your life?
I've never been a member of Hizb ut-Tahrir.
Have you been a Daris? Have you been a student of Hizb ut-Tahrir? Can you answer that question?
Answer one of my questions. The point is, Maajid, Quilliam Foundation is going to be wound up because your own people, your own organisation will expose you quite shortly.
All right, chaps. You can continue this elevated dialogue outside. Thank
Look at Jeremy Paxman. Look at him. He's like going, boy, oh boy, oh boy. He's going, I'm glad this thing ends right now. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to continue, but he goes, "You chaps." The British and their terms. Man, you guys across the pond, you chaps. Let's go get a pint together. Let's go to the pub and get a pint. Yeah, let's take the Muslim brother, okay, over to the pub and get him a pint so we can talk about this as two chaps. Oh, my goodness gracious. But Anjem Choudary, man, this guy is just, he's just evil personified. He's benefiting from the democratic principles to be allowed to speak his mind, the freedom of speech, allowed to do what he wants to do, basically, until he comes to the point where he's either inciting or committing violence. And those were some of the charges that were brought against him, which then held up and finally put him in jail for the first time for 2.5 years of a 5-year sentence, and he got out. The government has no balls over there. Tiny little ones. Tiny little cojones. They couldn't even keep him in jail for 5 years, his maximum sentence. Probably put him, I don't even know. What was it, good behavior? And then he claims that he's gotten so much support from Muslims and non-Muslims to have that march, that hate-filled march. I mean, and Jeremy said everybody can come to their own conclusions as to the question that Maajid Nawaz was asking. Apostates, would you be killed? 99.99%, absolutely. Views against the religion, probably. At least jailed, at worst, and at even less least, beaten. At worst, killed. Wouldn't answer a single solitary question, just kept going on and on and on about how the government's going after him, the government's going after his group, the group that he was with here. Guess what, folks? They're a banned organization, not only in the UK, but in Muslim countries too. These are people that want to take down Muslim governments because they feel that Islamic or Muslim governments aren't Muslim or Islamic enough for even those Muslims of his ilk. They don't want these people. And then they say, oh, you want them? Britain. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Britain. Thank you for... yeah, absolutely. We'll pack his bags and we'll pay his plane ticket. We'll pay anything to get rid of these guys. And that's what they do. They get rid... because they say, oh, the West, these guys are stupid. They'll take all of the people that are causing insurrection in our country, that want to topple our government, want to, do a coup d'etat. And the West says, oh, yeah, they're I can't think of the word right now. Asylum seekers. Oh, you know what? We got to leave our country because our country is going to kill us or put us in jail. Well, Mr. Terrorist, why is that so? Well, because we want to topple that government. We want to get rid of our president. We want to get rid of our prime minister. We're good. We're the good people. We want to get rid of that person over there, but they don't want that to happen. They think we're bad, and they want to kick us out of our country. So please, Western countries, could you please take us? Oh, you will? Thank you so much. Oh, we love you so much. As soon as they set foot on the soil of the Western democracy, what do they try to do? Topple that government. Oh, democracy and freedom don't work. We got to institute Sharia law. Amazing, folks. Amazing. Anyways, thanks for taking the time to watch. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasir. And if you haven't done so already, we've earned your subscription. Please go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscription button. Like, share, and follow us. You all know what to do. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.